Welcome to the Irish Independent. I'm joined by Dan McDonnell live from Wembley Stadium. And Dan, it's finished England 5, Ireland 0, and it was really a game of two halves and a night to forget in the end.
Yeah, it's sort of, you can rattle out those cliches, all right. It's the hope that kills you. It's sort of a phrase I feel like you use a lot in this job, actually, and this is a very sort of extreme version of it. I mean, look, there's no doubt, like, the freshest memory now is like the torture of the second half, particularly the last 15, 20 minutes. The sort of just waiting for the whistle, and I think the Irish players, it's almost meaningless in some ways what happened the last 15, 20 minutes, because it was just like, get it over with. It's a sort of an English celebration. So yeah, I mean, like, it's a tough one to dissect, because I think, being honest, like, you do expect Ireland to lose this game. I think obviously that would have been a clear view we would have had coming here, not to be negative about it. And yet, it did seem for like 45 minutes maybe the team were going to, sort of shove it down the throats of all the sort of people who gave them no chance. And look, I mean, there's obviously flashpoint incidents in the game that could have turned things in a different direction. And we'll talk about them, obviously. I mean, there was a valid penalty shout in the first half from Evan Ferguson. There's no doubt about that. But then there's also, unfortunately, this issue that sometimes the Ireland after half time, if there's a good 45 minutes, they sometimes struggle to back it up. And even in the midst of a very strong first half display, Liam Scales did pick up a little bit of a silly yellow card. And unfortunately, that really came back to haunt Ireland. And yeah, I mean, if it's 1-0 and it's a penalty and it's 11 men on the pitch, okay, that's a blow, and it probably still would have been difficult. But obviously, that was just an absolute killer. And in almost no time, the game went from being very interesting to just being a complete non-entity of a contest.
And Dan, we'll come on to that second half in a moment, but Evan Ferguson having a shirt pulled by Mark Gahey, surely that was a clear penalty, but VAR judging not.
Yeah, look, I watch it back on replay, and I'm always conscious of green-tinted glasses with this stuff, so you kind of wait for people to maybe give a counter view, but I have to say I don't really see it. I have to say I was at England's game against Holland in the Euros, the semi-final, when they got a VAR penalty early on, and Harry Kane stayed down for absolutely ages while it was reviewed. I sort of feel like Evan Ferguson's had one or two now where it's like, just, if you feel it might be an injustice, find a reason to tie your lace, take your shoe off, whatever it might be. Invent an injury, pretend, like, live like you're a League of Ireland goalkeeper and go down injured when you're absolutely fine. It might give people a little bit more time to think about it, because I think that was a penalty. Now, look, I have to say, you feel vaguely embarrassed and ridiculous making that the centrepiece when it's 5-0.
Of course,
but it is true that when you're an underdog, you need everything to go absolutely perfectly. Like, you have to come down on the right side of every margin. And I suppose, Ireland were doing a pretty good job of frustrating England. And if Ireland had somehow got ahead at that point, then maybe it's a different evening.
And Dan, we all know that Ireland's Achilles heel has really been conceding in the period after the restart. It lasted 7 minutes, and then unfortunately it was 3 concessions within 5-6 minutes. Game over.
Yeah, like, and I suppose, it was 7 minutes by the time the penalty was taken. I suppose I think it was like the 6th minute and a half, and unfortunately that's been a real danger zone period. And I think it's like Ireland in the first half have been very disciplined. I mean, I suppose, Hamer had sort of thrown this curveball in of playing Nathan Collins in a sort of a defensive midfield role, really like we get obsessed with numbers sometimes, but he was like a 4-1-4-1. He was in between the defence and midfield, or maybe tracking Harry Kane at times, and really
good first half.
Yeah, it sort of confounded England a little bit. Made life very hard for them, but I guess that the after half time, you stand off a little bit to allow the pass to be picked. I mean, they've been following Kane so closely, but you sort of switch off to allow the pass to be picked to Bellingham, and okay, I mean, Scales, it's a blatant penalty. He knows it, and the fact he had that yellow early on meant his margin for error was gone, and that's the particular frustration that it could unravel so quickly. And yeah, I think after that, yeah, I like, the second goal was obviously just very messy as well, and everything was on point at the first half, but you could almost tell that when the penalty was scored and Scales was sent off, I think the players lost all their belief as well. And what followed is probably unsurprising.
Is there anything you can take out of tonight to take forward, or is it really a case of just forgetting about it, putting in the history books and looking ahead to the playoff draw now next week?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think you're going to see the setup tonight in a playoff game, I don't think. But, I mean, if you take anything from it, is maybe in when you come to the big World Cup games next autumn, which are going to be against stronger sides, is the first half a little bit of template for how you approach that? Maybe. That could be the lesson we take from the game.
Dan, that's great. Dan McDonnell live from Wembley Stadium. You can follow all the latest reaction to tonight's heavy defeat as Ireland conclude their Nations League campaign with a 5-0 defeat in London. Thanks for watching.